Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about foreign horror movies that are better than Hollywood. And with that, let's get to the list. Baskin is a 2015 Turkish surrealist horror movie. Directed by Can Evernal, it stars Mehmet Karaglu and Ergin Kayuku. The plot focuses on 5 police officers who have inadvertently wandered into hell. This is the definition of what this whole list is really about. These underrated movies from other countries that, yeah, those in the know, you know, the diehard horror fans that are always digging for gold. Those of us, yeah, we know about these movies, but a lot of these just really fly under the radar, and mostly it's because they're in other languages or they're just from other countries in general. Because even the ones on this list that are in English still fly under the radar. And it gets frustrating when you have all these Hollywood-ized horror movies come out in theaters and everybody goes and sees them, and then you hear everybody talking about, oh, there's nothing ever new, you know, everything is just a remake or a reboot or whatever. When you are like, no, there's all these original movies out there that you just don't know about because they're from other countries. But this one is so creepy. It's so dirty and gross and unnerving. The visuals, the style, the pacing of it, it feels different. It feels unique. Part of that is a cultural difference, but part of that is just the vision of this filmmaker here. The cast is really good in this as well, especially the more evil ones. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to spoil the directions and what this movie does, but there are some of them that really stand out and are just absolutely nightmare fuel. But the cinematography, the art design, the lighting, the sound, everything is just done really well in this. So if you're a fan of demented, strange foreign horror movies, this is one you definitely need to add to your list. Caveat is a 2020 Irish horror movie. Written, directed, and edited by Damien McCarthy. It stars Jonathan French, Leela Sykes, and Ben Kaplan. A lone drifter suffering from partial memory loss accepts a job to look after a psychologically troubled woman in an abandoned house on an isolated island. I just talked about this movie just a few days ago on a Tubi list that I was putting out because Tubi just added a bunch of horror movies that had been living on Shudder and just made their horror catalog so much better. So if you've yet to see that Tubi video, definitely go check that out. But this movie is a real gem. Yes, it's small. It's not a big blockbuster type of movie. It's got that indie feel, that real artist, slow burn kind of atmosphere and style about it. But I just love how it's as much of a mystery as it is a horror movie. And so it really plays with what you know, and it twists around back and forth until you kind of start to finally get the picture of what happened, what's going on, and what this whole movie is really even about towards the end. But the thing that I'm the biggest fan of Damien McCarthy's work about is just the look. The way he builds atmosphere and mood in his movies, they're just dripping in that. If you're not aware, he's the same filmmaker that did Oddity last year that just blew everybody away and ended up being on a lot of our top 10 lists for the year. The other thing that's really cool about this movie is the little props and the set and just the different unique imagery and things that are put together here really jump off the screen and help to give it that weird atmosphere. So if you have yet to see this one, do yourself a favor and check it out.
I've lost my mind.
The Ugly Stepsister is a 2025 Norwegian body horror movie. Co-written and directed by Emily Blichfield, it stars Leah Myron, Thea Sophie Locke, and Anne Del Torp. The story follows Elvira as she battles against her gorgeous stepsister in a realm where beauty reigns supreme. So she resorts to extreme measures amidst a ruthless competition for physical perfection. movie is so damn good. If I were to do my top 10 of the year right now, it would be right in the very top. It would be like maybe in that top 5 for sure, but maybe even 1 or 2. I mean, this movie is that good. And I love how it surprised me, and it went against what I thought it was going to be about. And even when I thought I knew what this movie was or how it was going to end or the directions it was going, it would continually surprise me with imagery, with body horror, with gross things, with just strange decisions that were unique and strange in a fun way, because they were all creative. I'm just a huge fan of this filmmaker because the movie has almost this elegant 1970s feel, where even though it's a period piece, it also feels like a period piece that was made in the 1970s. And I really love the way it's shot, the way it feels, the pacing of it, and all those things that really encompass it feeling that way. But holy hell, this cast is so good. They're so committed to the roles they're playing, the things they have to do, especially Leah Myron. I mean, it is just remarkable the things she does in this movie and just nails it. In some ways, they're reminding me a little bit of The Substance as far as the cast being so committed to the body horror and gross things that they have to do. But I'm in no way saying it's on the level of body horror of like The Substance. It's a different movie, so don't think that this is gonna remind you of The Substance. Even though the trailer that's out there does kind of make it feel like it's gonna be that, it's not. It's really its own thing. And this is one of those foreign horror movies that pretty quickly on, you just forget you're reading subtitles because they do such a good job with the story and the character development and all of that, that within 10 to 15 minutes, you're just sucked into this universe and it doesn't even matter that you're reading subtitles. And that for me says something because I really struggle reading. I just have issues with dyslexia, my eyesight, all that kind of stuff. And so for a movie to get me so into it that I just forget that I'm having to read, that's impressive stuff. And that's also a big factor on all the movies on this list. The ones where you do have to read subtitles, I picked movies that all sucked me into that level to where the subtitles didn't bother me. They are either limited subtitles, like some of the movies on here have subtitles, but there's not a ton. And then other ones like this one where there is quite a bit, but it doesn't matter. It's done well and you just get into this moment. But I think for the right audience, this movie is an absolute treasure. And it's one that I highly, highly recommend. Revenge is a 2017 French action horror movie, written and directed by Courtney Farjah. It stars Matilda Lutz, Kevin Janssens, and Vincent Colombi. The story follows a woman who is brutally assaulted and left for dead in the desert by 3 men, where she recovers and seeks vengeance upon her attackers. So it's pretty rare for me to recommend revenge movies that deal with SA and things like that. It just makes me uncomfortable, and in a lot of cases, it's stuff I don't want to see, and I know there's a lot of people out there that don't want to see that. And that's no shame or judgment on you if you enjoy those types of movies, Last House on the Left and so on. Like, that's totally cool. Like, I'm good with that. But in this case, with this movie, the style of it, the way that it's done, the atmosphere, the look, the creativity, the color choices, the frenetic nature of it, everything about it make it so much more than that. And if you're not aware, Courtney Farjah is the same filmmaker that did The Substance last year. And I'm not saying this is The Substance. It's definitely its own thing. Different cast, a different story. I mean, it's a different movie. But there is some of that same exciting style and over-the-top nature and a lot of the things that made The Substance so special. You can see them in this movie. Matilda Lutz is also a big part of what makes this movie work. She is so exciting and fun to watch. She's gorgeous for one, but she's just an absolutely badass final girl type of character. It also gets really savage and gory and absolutely goes for it in that department as well. And yes, it is in French, so you will have to read some subtitles, but the vast majority majority of this movie doesn't even have dialogue. It's just this exciting action horror movie where the just gory, over-the-top things are happening, and it's just exciting and fast-paced, and so there just isn't a lot of dialogue. I just think this is a really special movie, and if you have yet to see it, do yourself a favor and make this the next thing that you watch.
Tiempo de la fe se terminan rápido.
When Evil Lurks is a 2023 Argentine horror movie, written and directed by Demian Rugna. It stars Ezekiel Rodriguez, Louis Zambrowski, and Emilio Vadovic. In a remote village, two brothers find a demon-infected man about to give birth to evil itself. So they decide to get rid of the man, but merely succeed in helping him to deliver the inferno. If you've watched this channel for the last year or so, you have heard me rave about this movie. I love this movie. It was my favorite movie of the year that it came out. It's one of those just treasures, movies that we get very rarely, one or two maybe a year, that are just rise to the top, just the absolute unique cream of the crop, because this movie is so imaginative and creative. Demian Rugna just creates the most complex, layered universes that have all these unique rules and just the entire thing. It feels like you're all of a sudden dropped into this other universe. But the way he explains the rules and how things work in this universe, so to speak, they're really well done. So you just never feel like you're getting exposition dump. It's just you're in this universe and you're going with it. And as you go, you just kind of roll with the punches. You just learn what you need to learn as you follow these characters through this world. But it's rare that a movie will have even one moment that just shocks me, that leaves my jaw on the floor, totally surprises me, just something I did not see coming at all. And this movie does that at least 3 times. Like, there is 3 jaw-dropping moments, maybe 4. I have to think about it, but I mean, it's just these crazy, memorable scenes where they're so weird and twisted and creative, but super dark and just oppressive and demented. On top of that, the special effects, the way things look in this, that again is unique and twisted. And the other movie that he did before this, Terrified, is the same way. It has a lot of these same elements about it, and that's what makes that movie special as well. But I just adore this movie and can't wait to see what Demian Rugna does next. I think this movie is so good, and for any fan of horror, it's an absolute must-watch. Hatching is a 2022 Finnish body horror movie. Directed by Hanna Bergholm, it stars Siri Salarina and Sofia Heikkilä. It's about a young gymnast who tries desperately to please her demanding mother. But when she discovers a strange egg, she tries to hide it and keep it warm. But when it hatches, what emerges from it shocks them all. This movie is so much fun. It has a lot of that 80s practical effects, puppetry, things like that, stuff you just don't see a lot of anymore. And it's done really, really well. So it doesn't look clunky. It doesn't look silly. So it's not necessarily one of those cheesy type of 80s movies, but rather one of the more well done levels of special effects. But the underlying story, the message, what this movie's trying to say is also what makes this movie special. And I really love the look of it because it's Finnish, and so a lot of this is bright and sunny and colorful, but then it starts to get dark and twisted, and just the way it almost feels like a cloud coming in over the movie when it gets to that point, I think is really cool. I also really love the directions that this takes. It definitely surprised me. There is some twists and turns, and what it does with it was really fun. But if you're a fan of body horror and have yet to see this, definitely add it to your list. Tumbbad is a 2018 Indian folk horror movie. Directed by Rahi Anobarv, it stars Soham Shah, Harish Khanna, and Randra Soni. It's a mythical story about a goddess who created the entire universe. So the plot revolves around the consequences when humans build a temple for her firstborn. I just love the look of this movie and the style of it. It is a very much like an adventure and a fable, and it has all this, folk tale type of legends and lore and stuff from the Indian culture. And so I love that because it's very new to me and feels unique and not like things I'm used to, for one. But then on top of that, it gets moody. It gets atmospheric. There is some nightmare fuel moments in this that are super creepy. And once again, because it being from a culture that I'm not super familiar with, just the look and the style and the way that they do the horror in this is also very unique feeling. And I've always found that the more foreign something feels to me, the more it feels like something I haven't experienced before, it makes me feel off and strange, and it just makes it that much more effective because it's not something that I'm desensitized, so to speak, to. And Indian horror is definitely a blind spot for me. I mean, a lot of the countries that I'm talking about on this list are not things that I'm super familiar with. Those are cultures where I know a couple horror movies from, but that's about it. And it's hard for me because I do struggle with subtitles to really go deep into different horror movies from these cultures. But this is one that really rose to the top and became pretty famous as far as a horror movie coming from India. But I know there is other Indian horror movies that I'm not aware of. So definitely in the comments, tell me other ones that you think I need to check out, because I'm sure with the way this movie looks and feels that there's probably a whole bunch of other great Indian horror movies out there. So I think this movie is a really fun ride that's definitely worth taking. Blood Red Sky is a 2021 German action horror movie. Directed by Peter Thorwarth, it stars Roland Muller, Puri Baumeister, and Alexander Scheer. When a group of terrorists hijack an overnight transatlantic flight, a mysterious woman must unleash a monstrous secret to protect her son. This is a fun mashup because there's a lot of action, thriller kind of feel to it with the whole hijacking and all the fight scenes and all of that. But then there's definitely a horror side to this as well, because it gets into the whole vampire weird angle of it. But I don't want to say a lot more than that because there are unique twists and turns and things that this movie does that surprised me. But it's really well shot, and you can tell that it's got a good budget because the effects that are used, the action scenes, everything is believable and fun and frenetic and exciting. It's just a very entertaining action horror movie. It has an interesting story to it as well. It's not cookie cutter. It's not really as simple as it seems like it's going to be either, because as the movie unfolds, there's other layers and complexities to it. But it's been one of my favorites for the last few years to recommend on Netflix because it's really good and nobody seems to talk about it. So I think if you have yet to see this and you're looking for something exciting and full of action and entertainment, it's definitely worth checking out. The Sadness is a 2021 Taiwanese body horror movie, written and directed by Rob Jabez in his feature film debut, and stars Barant Zhu and Regina. A young couple trying to reunite amid a city ravaged by a plague that turns its victims into deranged, bloodthirsty sadists. Holy fuck, this movie is so savage, so gory, gross, just as far over the top pretty much as you could go, because there's just about everything gore-wise you could think of in this movie. From what I know, it was inspired by the graphic novel The Crossed, and so it has a little bit of that flavor, a little bit of that style, and the basic premise of those graphic novels. But I mean, it is a different story. It just kind of was inspired from those. I've also heard that someone is currently working on making a movie from The Crossed, so we'll see how that all goes. But this is just an insane movie. It's almost too much gore though, in a way, where you get desensitized pretty quick in the movie and you just kind of stop being as affected by some of that gore, I think. But it's still a practical effects fan's wet dream. It has that Terrifier element to it where you just see so many creative choices and things being done with all this blood and gore and flesh and all. It's just craziness. But it's also exciting and action-packed and very fast-paced. There's not a ton of dialogue in this, so you don't have to read a lot of subtitles. Most of this movie is just kind of, you see your characters running from people trying to kill them. Or you see people killing other people. I mean, that's basically what this movie is. But I think it's a lot of fun, but you gotta be a fan of gore and have a strong stomach, because otherwise, this just might not be for you. But if you do, this one's definitely worth checking out. Huesera the Bone Woman is a 2022 Mexican-Peruvian supernatural body horror movie, co-written and directed by Michelle Garza Cervera in her directorial debut. It stars Natalia Solian, Alfonso Dossel, and Mayra Batalla. Valeria has long dreamed of becoming a mother, so after learning she's pregnant, she expects to feel happy. Yet something is horribly wrong.
Felicidades. Ya se te estaba pasando el tren. ¿Estás contenta?
Feliz.
¿Y eso que no te gustan los niños?
This is such an incredible movie that has gotten no love over the last couple years. It blows me away. It was in my top 10 of the year, and I don't know anybody else that even had it on their list, like as far as YouTube goes. It's wild to me. It's like all these movies on this list, so many of them just get overlooked because they're from other countries when you're here in the United States. And that's a real shame. Like I said, like the whole idea of this video is here's Hollywood putting out all these movies, people go and paying a bunch of money to see them, and being disappointed when there's these amazing gems being made in these other countries. This movie though is so atmospheric, so moody, incredibly well shot. The cast is phenomenal in this. You really feel the emotion and the complexities of everything that goes on in this. It's also a complex movie that has a lot of layers to it, a lot of different things that it's trying to say with its messaging. But it doesn't forget that it's a horror movie at the same time. I mean, there is some absolutely disturbing imagery in this. Things that, I don't care who you are, they'll make you uncomfortable to see. There's one scene in particular that even just thinking about makes my skin crawl. So it is a little bit of a slow burn though. You do have to be patient with it. You got to be in the right headspace for a deep movie, a powerful, a little bit artsy kind of film. But if you tend to like those kind of movies that are full of dread and anxiety and just slowly build and build and build, then this is one I think is absolutely up your alley. But that's gonna do it for me today. I would love to hear down in the comments some recommendations for foreign horror movies. Like, what are the things out there that I'm missing on this list? But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember guys, horror can be fun. And I'll see you guys next time.